All right, good afternoon, Dr. Murray. It's October 15th, 2025. I'll be presenting my topic 3 assignment on the rights and responsibilities. Welcome to this overview on student legal responsibilities and rights in higher education. As student affairs professionals, we serve a bridge between policy and student experience, ensuring compliance with state and federal laws. Understanding legal frameworks such as Americans with Disabilities Act, Title IX, and the Family Education Rights and Privacy Act, otherwise known as FERPA, allows us to create equitable, safe, and inclusive learning environments. Legal literacy is essential to maintaining institutional integrity and protecting student rights. In New York, colleges and universities serve over 1.2 million students, and 1 in 5 reports facing some form of discrimination or bias. By mastering these laws, we help prevent compliance failures, support student success, and strengthen accountability within our institutions. Training on student legal status, rights, and compliance ensures ethical decision-making and professional credibility within student affairs. When students enter higher education, they transition from dependent minors to independent adults under New York law. At 18, they gain full legal rights to make academic, financial, and health decisions, and they control access to their educational records under FERPA. Colleges no longer act as guardians, but as contractual partners through policies, handbooks, and enrollment agreements. This shift requires institutions to balance autonomy with accountability while respecting students' constitutional and civil protections. Student rights in New York stem from multiple legal sources, including due process, equal protection, and statuses such as the ADA and Title IX. Landmark cases like Dixon versus Alabama established the precedent for student due process, reinforcing the importance of fairness in disciplinary actions. With over 1.2 million students enrolled in New York colleges and universities, maintaining consistent ethical and legal standards is critical to fostering institutional trust and minimizing liability. Students in higher education maintain constitutional rights to free speech, due process, and equal protection, which form the foundation of equitable campus environments. Federal laws such as Title IX, the Americans with Disabilities Act, and Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act further protect against discrimination and ensure all students have access to academic programs, housing, and activities. These statutes require institutions to provide fair treatment and respond appropriately to harassment, discrimination, and accessibility barriers. FERPA protects the confidentiality of student educational records and limits disclosure without consent, reinforcing the ethical duty to uphold privacy in academic and administrative settings. Compliance with these laws is not optional. It ensures institutional accountability and fosters inclusive learning spaces. Notably, about 20% of college students report having a disability that requires accommodations in academics or housing, emphasizing the importance of proactive support systems that promote equal opportunity and student success. In New York, colleges must also comply with Educational Law Articles 129A and 129B, which expand protections for student safety and equity. About 20% of college students nationwide report having a disability that requires academic or housing accommodations. By applying these frameworks, student affairs professionals ensure that every student has fair access to educational opportunities. When students enroll in college and pay tuition, they form a contractual relationship with the institution. This contract may be explicit through signed agreements or implied through documents such as course catalogs, handbooks, and academic policies. Courts have consistently held that these materials represent binding promises that institutions must uphold. For instance, if a catalog guarantees specific program outcomes or grievance procedures, the institution is legally expected to deliver on these commitments. This legal framework underscores the importance of accuracy and transparency in all institutional publications and communications. Contractual rights extend to issues like academic evaluation, disciplinary actions, and program continuity. Students have a right to fair and consistent treatment according to institutional policies. When universities deviate from their own rules, such as improperly expelling a student or altering degree requirements mid-program, means students have grounds to breach of contract claims. Recent analyses of higher education litigation show that contract-related disputes remain the most common cause of student lawsuits nationwide. For student affairs professionals, this highlights the importance of ensuring that all departmental procedures align with published institutional standards. Peer relationships in college are guided by campus conduct codes and New York educational law, which require equitable treatment and due process. Title IX extends these protections by prohibiting harassment, discrimination, and violence among students in all federally funded programs. Universities must investigate complaints promptly and ensure both the complainant and respondent receive equal access to resources and appeals. Research shows that 39% and 64% of campus harassment cases involve student-to-student misconduct. To address this, New York institutions increasingly use mediation and restorative justice approaches that promote dialogue, accountability, and healing. These methods align with Title IX's emphasis on fairness and the state's commitment to educational safety. By applying these strategies, student affair professionals help foster respectful peer interactions while reducing the recurrence of conflict. Many universities are also shifting toward restorative and educational models for resolving peer conflicts. Instead of focusing solely on punishment, these approaches emphasize accountability and understanding and harm repair. For example, mediation or peer resolution programs allow students to address underlying issues such as bias or miscommunication. The relationship between student and administration is legally grounded in fairness, transparency, and adherence to institutional and state procedures. Students have the right to due process and non-retaliation when addressing disciplinary or academic grievances. New York's educational law Article 129B mandates consistent reporting, appeals, and hearing procedures for all post-secondary institutions. These safeguards ensure students are treated equitably while protecting universities from liability. Nationally, about 27% of higher education lawsuits stem from due process or procedural violations. To prevent these issues, administrators must follow published policies precisely and maintain clear documentation during investigation or appeals. Student affairs professionals play a key role by ensuring that institutional actions align with legal requirements, maintaining both students' trust and institutional credibility. The Family Education Rights and Privacy Act, or FERPA, grants students the right to access, review, and request corrections to their educational records. Once a student turns 18 and attends a post-secondary institution, all rights transfer from parents to the student. Universities must not disclose academic or disciplinary records without written consent, except under specific exceptions such as health and safety concerns. Improper handling of confidential data remains one of the most common compliance issues in student affairs, with about 42% of violations related to privacy breaches. In New York, the state education department requires that all institutions maintain secure record keeping and staff training on confidentiality. By upholding FERPA standards and practicing discretion, student affairs professionals protect student trust while ensuring constitutional compliance. To mitigate these risks, professionals must adhere to strict documentation procedures, avoid discussing student details in public settings, and use encrypted systems for emails or file transfers. Upholding confidentiality not only fulfills federal requirements, but also fosters student trust and demonstrates the institution's respect for individual rights. Student affairs professionals understand the major federal and state laws that guide equitable campus practices. The ADA and Section 504 ensure accessibility, while Title IX prohibits sex-based discrimination and requires institutions to respond promptly to harassment or violence. FERPA adds another layer by protecting student records and privacy in all federally funded programs. In 2023, the Office for Civil Rights reported over 7,500 Title IX complaints, showing continued challenges in compliance. In New York, educational law Articles 129A and 129B strengthen these protections by mandating clear grievance procedures and campus safety policies. Together, these regulations ensure that institutions uphold accessibility, transparency, and fairness in every aspect of student life. For practitioners, ongoing education about these evolving regulations is crucial. Regular training sessions, legal briefings, and collaboration with compliance offices ensure that staff remain prepared to uphold student rights and institutional integrity. Student affair professionals are entrusted with safeguarding both institutional integrity and student welfare. This dual responsibility requires state staff to maintain ethical conduct, confidentiality, and compliance with university policies. Professionals must act as advocates and educators, ensuring that all students are treated fairly and that campus processes align with federal and state requirements. According to the Chronicle of Higher Education, more than 70% of compliance violations in higher education occur due to human error or insufficient policy knowledge. For this reason, ongoing professional development and legal literacy are vital components of student affairs training programs. Documentation and transparency form the foundation of professional accountability. Every student interaction, from from advising sessions to disciplinary conferences should be recorded objectively and stored securely in compliance with FERPA standards. Consistent documentation protects both the student and the institution by ensuring procedural fairness. Additionally, staff must understand their obligations to report misconduct or discrimination to appropriate compliance officers, including Title IX coordinators, ADA officers, or campus law enforcement when necessary. Failing to report can expose the university to liability and undermine trust between administration and students. New York State's Education Department emphasizes annual policy and legal training for staff to reduce these risks and strengthen institutional accountability. Ethical professionalism also involves self-awareness and bias reduction, according to Kaplan and Lee. Applying legal and ethical principles in everyday student affairs practices ensures compliance, equity, and student success. Professionals must integrate Title IX, ADA, and FERPA guidelines into their routine responsibilities, whether managing conduct cases, advising students, or maintaining academic records. For example, FERPA requires us to protect the confidentiality of educational data, while Title IX compels a prompt and impartial response to any report of harassment or discrimination. The ADA in Section 504 ensures that students with disabilities have equitable access to classrooms, housing, and campus resources. Collaboration is also key. Student affairs staff should partner regularly with compliance offices, counseling services, faculty, and academic leadership to create coordinated support systems that protect students and the institution. According to the Chronicle of Higher Education, institutions that invest in regular compliance and policy training experience 35% fewer student grievances. This data shows that training not only prevents violations, but also builds trust and a stronger campus culture of accountability. In New York, the State Education Department mandates that colleges conduct annual trainings on harassment prevention, campus safety, and non-discrimination. By prioritizing ongoing education, trauma-informed care, and accurate documentation, student affairs professionals demonstrate leadership, integrity, and proactive commitment to student well-being. Compliance is not just a legal requirement, it's a daily practice that reflects the university's values and enhances the overall learning environment. Thank you, Dr. Murray, for your time.